You know that feeling? It is 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. You have had a long day, actually, a long week, and you are finally sitting down to just check on things. You open your banking app, you type in your password, and you wait for that little spinning circle to stop. And you are hopeful. You really are. You worked hard. You did not buy that expensive coffee every single morning. You skipped the weekend trip that everyone else was posting about on Instagram. You were disciplined, and then the number loads and it is just not where you want it to be. Maybe you managed to scrape together an extra $300 this month. Or maybe, despite all your best efforts, life just happened and the number barely moved at all. It feels like you are running on a treadmill, does not it? You are sweating, you are breathing heavy, your legs are burning, but when you look up, the scenery has not changed. You are still in the same spot. It is genuinely discouraging. It makes you wonder if the system is rigged or if you are just bad at this. Or if building wealth is something that happens to other people. People with trust funds or six-figure salaries or some secret gene you missed out on. My name is Jack and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. And honestly, I think about this specific struggle, the 0 to 100,000 phase, more than anything else, because it is the great filter. It is the point where most people quit. It is the point where you decide that this is just how my life is going to be. But here is the thing that nobody really takes the time to explain to you when you are just starting out. Getting to that first $100,000 is not just hard because of the math. It is hard because of the physics of your life. It is hard because, in a very real way, you are fighting a war on two fronts. You are fighting against your own habits, sure, but you are also fighting against the basic mechanics of how money works. And once you understand why it is so hard, once you see the invisible forces working against you, the frustration starts to fade. It stops feeling like a personal failure and starts looking like a level in a video game that is designed to be difficult. But here is the good news. The game changes, drastically. So, if you have been feeling like you are pushing a boulder uphill every single month, grab a drink, get comfortable, and let us talk about why the first $100,000 is the absolute hardest money you will ever earn. And more importantly, why everything gets easier after you cross that line. Let us start with the cold, hard math. And I know, nobody likes math. But stick with me here, because this is actually kind of beautiful in a frustrating way. We all hear about compound interest. Albert Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. It is the concept that your money makes money, and then that money makes more money, and suddenly you have this snowball rolling down a hill that just gets bigger and faster and heavier. It is the magic of investing, but here is what they do not put on the brochure. In the beginning, the snowball is not a snowball. It is a snowflake. And you are not on a hill. You are on a flat, frozen tundra if you start investing. Let us say $500 a month, and you get a reasonable return. Let us call it 7% or 8% to keep it simple that first year. Your money is going to earn you maybe a couple $100. Literally, you scrape together $6,000 of your hard-earned. After tax sweat, and the market gives you a polite nod and says, "Thanks, here is $400. It feels insulting. Does not it? You are taking all the risk. You are doing all the work. And the return is so small it barely pays for a nice dinner." This is the silent phase of wealth building. For the first few years, the majority of your net worth is coming from you, not from your investments. You are the engine. You are the one rowing the boat, and that is exhausting. Because while you are rowing, you see these headlines about people making millions in crypto or meme stocks, or you hear about your friend who flipped a house and made a killing. And you look at your little $400 in interest and think, why am I bothering? This is where most people quit. They look at the effort they are putting in versus the immediate reward, and the ROI, return on investment, just does not feel worth it. They feel like they are doing everything right. But the scoreboard is not moving, but the secret. The one thing you have to wrap your head around. is that those first few years are the tuition you pay for the later years. You are paying your dues. Every dollar you save when you have $10,000 to your name is doing way more heavy lifting than a dollar you save when you have $1,000,000, simply because it is harder to part with it. Think about it this way. If you have $1,000,000 and you save 10 grand, you probably will not even notice it is gone. But if you have 5 grand in the bank and you save $1,000, you feel that. You sacrifice something for that. Whether it was a weekend away or a new gadget, or just the peace of mind that comes with having a cash cushion. So, when the math looks slow, remember, you are not just building a number, you are building the habit. And honestly, the habit is worth more than the interest right now, because the interest is going to wake up eventually. But it is going to take a while. I remember when I first started really looking at this stuff, I would run the numbers on a compound interest calculator, those free ones online, and I would plug in my age, my starting balance, and how much I could save. And the graph would look sad. For the first 10 years, the line is practically flat. It is just crawling along the x-axis like a tired caterpillar. It was not until year 15 or 20 that the line suddenly shot up like a rocket ship. And I remember thinking, great, so I have to suffer for a decade to see the fun part? It feels unfair. It feels like the game is rigged against young people. And in a way, it is. Time is the most valuable asset in investing, and usually, by the time you realize you need it, you have already spent a decade or two wasting it. But here is the actionable takeaway for this section. You have to fall in love with the boring. You have to learn to love the grind. Because if you are only motivated by the big number at the end, you will quit in year 3 when the graph is still flat. You need to find satisfaction in the act of saving itself. You need to look at that $400 in interest and not see it as a small amount, but as a seed. It is proof that the system works. It is proof that you are in the game. Now, let us talk about the physics of your life. Because timing is everything. And let us be real about when people usually start trying to get serious about money. Usually, it hits you in your mid to late 20s. Maybe you graduate college, you get a job, you start making a little money. Or you hit your early 30s and realize you do not want to be renting forever. This is the prime time for wealth building, but it is also the prime time for life. Happening. Think about what happens between the ages of 25 and 35. This is the decade where you are likely trying to transition from a student life to an adult life. You probably need a car that actually starts when you turn the key. You might want to move out of your parents' house or get a place with a partner. You are probably thinking about weddings or maybe even kids and all of that. It costs money. A lot of it. This is the phenomenon I like to call the expensive years. It is this window of time where your expenses naturally skyrocket just as you are trying to get your footing. It feels like you are trying to fill a bathtub that has a giant hole in the bottom. I have seen it so many times. Someone gets a raise at work and they think, finally, I can start saving. And then bam, the transmission blows on their car. Or they have a medical emergency. Or they have to fly across the country for a family wedding. It feels personal. It feels like the universe is saying, oh, you want to save money? Cute. Here is a $2,000 bill for a root canal. This is Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And Murphy usually shows up when your bank account is at its most vulnerable, when you have $0 to your name. A $500 emergency is a crisis. It might mean going into debt. It might mean borrowing from friends or family. It creates stress. It keeps you up at night. And when you are in that state of crisis, you cannot think about long-term wealth. You cannot think about compounding returns. You are just trying to put out the fire in front of you. This is why the first $100,000 is so hard. Because you are trying to build a fortress while simultaneously defending yourself from a constant barrage of arrows. Every dollar you save feels like a victory, because it almost certainly has a claim on it from somewhere else. Here is a small aside that I think about a lot. We romanticize the struggle of the early entrepreneur or the starving artist, right? We see movies where the protagonist eats ramen noodles and sleeps on a couch, and it is framed as this noble pursuit of a dream. But in real life, being broke is not romantic. It is stressful. It makes you anxious. It limits your options. When you have money, problems become inconveniences. When you do not have money, inconveniences become catastrophes. So, if you're in this phase right now, if you are dealing with the expensive years and the broken cars and the unexpected bills, please give yourself some grace. You are not bad with money. You're just playing the game on hard mode. So, what is the prescription here? How do you get through the expensive years without giving up? You have to build a moat.